Welcome back to Sim Sunday, and today we're back in Prepared 3D version 4.5, and also today we're in Atlanta, Georgia, the home of Delta Airlines. As part of our Bucket and Spade series, I really wanted to include Cancun, which of course is one of the world's most popular bucket and spade destinations for Americans, Canadians and Europeans alike. And one of the reasons I chose to fly to Cancun using Delta Airlines is because we have never taken a flight on board the 737-900 on the channel before. And looking at Delta's schedule, they're flying approximately 3 flights a day between Atlanta and Cancun using the 737-900. The flight time is also less than 2.5 hours, so I thought this episode as part of our Bucket and Spade series was the perfect opportunity to introduce you to the PMDG 737-900 for Prepared 3D version 4.5. Right, jumping straight into sim brief, it's a fairly straightforward flight. With a planned departure on runway 27 right here at Atlanta, KATL will be turning left shortly after takeoff and heading down towards Florida, before heading across the Gulf of Mexico to Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. Cruise altitude is expected to be 36,000 feet, and if all goes to plan, I'll be making an approach onto runway 12 right at Cancun International. And back in the cockpit, you'll all be aware that this channel does not provide tutorials. There's plenty of other fantastic channels on YouTube where you can find tutorial videos on how to fly awesome aircraft for Prepared and X-Plane, just like this PMDG 737 NGXu. So it's time for me to request clearance and then push back before making my way across the runway, which, as I said earlier, is 27 right today here at Atlanta. And of course, I'll come back to you during the taxi and tell you a little bit about the scenery that I've got installed in Prepared during this flight.
Delta 558 is cleared to Cancun Airport as filed. Fly runway heading climb and maintain altitude 8,000. Departure frequency is 121.0. Squawk 5326.
Departure check completed. Bypass pin inserted. Release parking brakes. Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will. Set parking brakes. Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed. Left is clear. Right is clear.
Atlanta ground, Southwest Street 8906 with information, Papa, request taxi, IFR. Atlanta ground, Delta 558 with information, Papa, request taxi, IFR. Delta 558, taxi holding point 3, runway 26, left. Atlanta ground, Delta 558, get runway 27 right. Delta 558, taxi holding point 3, runway 27 right. Taxi leaving runway 3 right Delta. Contact tower 119.5 when ready. Delta 558. Atlanta ground, Delta 1. 3 Alpha. Contact tower 125.325 when ready. Taxi 6.4 runway 26 right.
You will have noticed that ATC originally offered us runway 26 left for departure. It's always a challenge in Prepared to know which runway ATC is sometimes going to offer you, and I accept that runway 26 left was the closer runway to the stand that I was parked at. However, I was fully briefed for 27 right, and the FMC was already programmed for a SID departing on runway 27 right, so I decided to stick to my original choice, what I'd originally briefed myself on, which of course was 27 right. And while the taxi to 27 right is going to take me a lot longer, it's still going to be a lot quicker than reprogramming a new SID into the FMC. Okay, moving on to the scenery that I have installed here and Prepared. The scenery here at Atlanta KATL KATL is being delivered by Imaginesim. And when I get down to Cancun, the scenery that is installed there is from FSimStudios. In my opinion, Imaginesim produce some really high quality scenery for prepared. While I'm not convinced that Imaginesim quality is quite to the same level as FS Dream Team Flight Tampa or Flightbeam Studios, it's still pretty good. Moving on to Cancun, an FSimStudios version of Cancun that I've got installed here and prepared. I'm surprised that even today, advertised on SimMarket, the FSimStudios version of Cancun is still selling for €23.99. And it's just my opinion, but that is an extortionate price to pay for scenery that is pretty average. However, like all flight simmers, there is no other version of Cancun available for prepared. So I guess that Cancun remains one of those airports that we probably fly to quite a lot in flight sim, and we're held to ransom if we want a better quality airport from what is delivered out of the box. But it's just my opinion that €24 is rather a lot to pay for scenery that comes nowhere near even the quality of Latin VFR, Aerosoft, or even Just Flight, who all supply better quality airports at a much more affordable cost. Anyway, I guess these are just first world problems experienced by the flight sim community. So as I approach the active runway, it's time for me to shut up and get this PMDG 737-900 of Delta Airlines into the sky.
Clear for takeoff, runway 27, right, Delta 558.
To be honest guys, this was a pretty uneventful flight. As we approach the Florida Panhandle, we'll be crossing the Gulf of Mexico and there's simply nothing to show you. And I guess that it must be the same as the real world. Well, all the fun in flight sim is at the start and at the end of each flight. So I'm going to jump straight to the landing phase as we approach Cancun on the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. As we approach the coast of Mexico, we're going to be directed to land visually on runway 12 left. However, if you were doing this flight for real, you would probably be directed to land on runway 12 right. Because of course, runway 12 right gets you closer to the passenger terminals. And when I last visited Cancun for real in 2015, the landing runway then was 12 right. And despite both runways, 12 right and 12 left, having an ILS, the FSimStudios version of Cancun will only ever deliver you a visual approach. Anyway, let's get on with landing this PMDG 737-900 of Delta Airlines into Cancun on runway 12 right.
55 east. X-ray 558, cleared to land, runway 12 right. Contact access departure line 120.4, Spirit 748, thanks for the help, bye. X-ray Alpha Victor, X-ray 0, cleared for takeoff, runway 12 right, service with 07150. Cleared for takeoff, runway 12 right, X-ray Alpha Victor, X-ray 0. Access tower 490, treatment Snyder, miles northwest, inbound visual, runway 12, left approach. 490, treat Cancun tower, continue approach, runway 12 left, altimeter 290, treat.
300.
Approach, runway
Approaching
12
minimums.
left, 490, treat.
200.
X-ray Zulu, contact
Minimums.
Cancun departure sun 120.4. 490, treat cleared to land, runway 12 left.
Sync rate.
50. 40. 30.
Tower,
20.
cleared 116210
10.
miles northwest, inbound visual, runway 12 right approach. Cleared 116 Cancun Tower, approach, runway 12 right, altimeter 290, treat. Bye-bye. Cleared to land, runway 12 left, 490, treat. Cleared 116, cleared to land, runway 12 right, follow Boeing 737 on the runway. Cleared to land, runway 12 right. Cleared 116. Delta 558, contact ground on 121.7. Delta 711, cleared to land, runway 12 left, follow Airbus E320 on final. Over 2121.7, Delta 558, goodbye. 711.
There you go, guys, another safe landing and welcome to Cancun, Mexico. Hopefully you now see what I mean about this scenery of Cancun Airport from FSimStudios. I think it is the only payware version available for prepared 3D version 4 and above, and of course X-Plane, which is also available for. In my opinion, it's still not worth €24. Anyway, now that we're here in Cancun, it's time to bring another episode of Sim Sunday to a close. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the gorgeous PMDG 737-900 on a simple route between Atlanta and Cancun. So until our next video, thank you very much for watching, and wherever you're flying in your virtual world, don't forget to fly safe.